Hi, I'm Brandon Grant, Marketing Director here at QuoteWerks. In this video, we're going to demonstrate the ACT integration with QuoteWerks. We'll walk through the complete integration, including how to search and select contacts, create and update opportunities, create, update, and schedule follow-up calls, to-dos, tasks, and more. We'll also walk through how to select items to add to your document and how to close the opportunity as one in ACT. So let's get started. The QuoteWerks integration with ACT is a very powerful integration and has many features. We're going to start off with a typical workflow of creating a document and then work through the integration points as we do this. Please note that this video assumes you have already set up the ACT integration with QuoteWerks. If you have not done that, please do that first before watching the rest of the video. First, click on the Sold To, Shipped To tab in QuoteWerks. Anytime you're going to use the integration with ACT, you always want to select your contact or the account before you start building your document and before you start the integration process. To do that, click on the magnifying glass to search for a specific contact, or if you have ACT open and running, you can pull the currently open contact in ACT. For our example, I'm just going to do a search, so we'll click on the magnifying glass. This will bring up the Lookup ACT contact window. And you can see you have two options. You can use that currently displayed contact in ACT, and you can even select one of the secondary contacts, or you can search the ACT database for a different contact. You'll be able to search by company, contact, last name, or phone number, and again, you can choose whether or not you'd like to display the secondary contacts for that particular account. For example, I'm just going to use the currently displayed contact. I'm going to select the contact. And then you can see here you can pull them into the Sold To, Shipped To, Bill To, or if you want to populate all three fields with the same contact, click All. It's very important that whatever contact you select in the Sold To, Shipped To is who you want to create the document for in QuoteWerks. It's very important whoever you selected as your Sold To contact is who you want to create this quote for. The reason is that we are linking back to ACT based on the Sold To contact. So this is who we'll create the opportunity for, follow-up calls, all that information is going to flow through this contact, so you want to make sure you have this contact selected. The Ship To and the Bill To fields are just additional fields. If the shipping address or the billing address are different than the Sold To, you can select different contacts or even different addresses to use. For our example, we're just going to use the same contact across all three fields. Now that we have our contact, we can start building out our quote. In QuoteWerks, we have the ability to organize our document into different sections using what we call heading lines. So if you right click, you'll see there's an option that says Insert Section Header. Section headers are just a great way to utilize this organization by putting in different descriptions. So for example, if we were going to say this is going to be phase 1 of the project, we can type that in and we'll right click again, choose Insert Section Header, and we'll do another one for phase 2. And then we'll do a final one, again just right clicking for optional items. And we'll just remove this extra line here. So now that we have our section headers, we can begin adding items to our document. To add items to your document, simply click on the products icon. This will open up the product lookup window, and on the left hand side you'll see a list of product databases that you've set up in QuoteWerks or that you've linked to. Select the database where you want to search for items, and then search for items based on the description, part number, vendor part number, or keyword. You can also click Show All on the right hand side of the window. This will display all the items that are available in that database. For this example, I'm just going to select a few items that we can add to our document. To add more than one item at a time, simply highlight the item, hold Control on your keyboard, and then select the next item. So for this example, I'm just going to select all 5 items. Once you've selected them, click on the Select Add button, the bottom right hand corner of the product lookup window. This will bring up the Add Item Assistant. The Add Item Assistant allows you to make minor changes to this particular item before you add it to the document. So we can adjust our quantity. We could adjust our pricing by either typing in a new price. Maybe we want to sell this for $350. We could type that in. If you want to apply a specific markup, you can click on the ellipsis button here and you can choose your markup percentage. So maybe a 30% markup. We can choose margin points, type in 70, and that will give us our margin of 70%. Additionally, from here, one of the really cool features about QuoteWerks and the Act integration, and this is another reason why you want to select that contact first, is as you're adding items to your document, when you have that contact selected, you can actually check price history. So if I've ever sold this particular item here to this particular customer, I'll actually be able to see when I sold it to them, what the cost was, what I sold it to them for, which vendor I sourced it from, which document was in, when it was. All that information will be available. So it makes it really easy to stay consistent with your pricing. Additionally, I can check price history for this item, not just for this customer, but for every customer. So this will give me a full list of everyone I've ever sold this item to, so I can make sure that I'm staying consistent with my pricing. Or maybe if I gave someone a good deal and I want to give this customer a good deal as well, I can do that. And when you're ready to add it to the document, this is where those section headers are really, really useful, as I can say, okay, this is going to be part of phase 2 of this particular project. So we'll add it under phase 2 and then click add. For all the other items that I've selected, you'll just follow the same process. So we'll adjust our quantity, our pricing's good. Maybe we'll just sell this for an even $300. And then we're gonna say this is phase 1 of our project. If you have any pictures associated with your items, those will appear as well in the document. We'll need 3 of these. We'll leave our pricing the same, add it under phase 1. And we'll say this is an optional item, add it there. And one more, and we'll say this is part of phase 2 as well. So now that we have our items on the document, we can go ahead and click out of the product lookup window. Back on the document items tab, you'll see we have a list of all of our items on the document. When you have your items on the document, you can make any changes to them as needed. So if you want to adjust an item's description, simply click in the description field and you can double click. This will open up the entire item's description. So if you wanted to copy and paste it from another location, or maybe in this example, we just want to shorten it, I can click OK, and that'll use that new shorter description. Additionally, you can change an item's quantity. So if I wanted to adjust an item's quantity or the price, I can do that. You can also move items around. So if I wanted to say, this installation and setup, that's going to be more of a phase 2 thing. We'll just go ahead and drag and drop it into phase 2. And maybe this option here, this router, that's going to go into phase 1 of this particular project. It's really easy to maneuver items around the document as needed. Additionally, every line item in your document has what we refer to as line attributes. So for example, for our optional item here, if I wanted to mark this item as optional, I can right click on it, choose Edit Line Attributes, and I could set the item as optional. And setting the item as optional will give my customer the ability to choose whether or not to include it as part of the quote, or they can deselect it when they're ready to move forward. So we'll click OK. That item's now marked as optional, so we're good to go there. So we've made the adjustments to our particular items. We're ready to move forward. The next step in the integration with Act is going to be to create the opportunity. So we want to save our work in QuoteWerks. So we'll click on the save icon up at the top. This will open up the Save Quote As dialog box, and we'll have the opportunity to give our quote and our opportunity a name. So in this example, it's going to be the company that we're selling to and today's date. So if you want to change that, you can. If you want to customize it, you can. This is just the default naming convention that we use. QuoteWerks will automatically assign a document number for you, so you don't have to worry about assigning document numbers or tracking any type of complicated numbering systems. We'll also set the status as open. Just like your opportunities have statuses in Act, our documents in QuoteWerks have statuses as well. So in this example, we're just going to set it as open. And then you can also assign project numbers. So if you want to have multiple documents for the same project, you can assign them the same project number, so it makes it easier to report on when these documents are in which phase of the particular part of the project. Below, you'll see the Act contact integration. So this is where we're getting into the integration piece with Act, and this will basically the second step of the Act integration. So we're going to create and update the sales opportunity, create a link document to this opportunity, also create a follow-up call, meeting, and to-do. You can uncheck any of these options if they don't apply to you, and QuoteWerks will remember this moving forward. So if you leave them all checked, they'll all be checked every time you go to save it. You can also just deselect as you want. So let's go ahead and click OK here so we can save our document in QuoteWerks, and then we'll be prompted to create that new Act opportunity. So on the opportunity window, you have a couple options. We can create a brand new opportunity, or if you've previously created an opportunity in Act, you you can click on the drop down and we can actually link to that existing opportunity. One thing to keep in mind is that if you choose to link to one of these existing opportunities, QuoteWerks will take ownership of that opportunity. What that means is we will rewrite all the information in the opportunity. So if you had saved information in there and you don't want QuoteWerks to overwrite it, then what you're going to want to do is just create a new opportunity instead, and that's what we're going to do for our example. The name of the opportunity by default will be the document name from QuoteWerks and then your QuoteWerks document number. However, you can see you can add on to this or change it as needed. Next, we can set our process, and this is information is pulling directly from ACT. So this is what your ACT settings are already set as. So we can set our process, our stage. We'll say we're at the presentation stage, what our probability is, and when we think we'll close. So probably not going to close today, so we'll put it out a couple weeks and see if we can close it by the 14th. You can add a new note, so maybe make sure to schedule follow up with customer. And then if you need to associate this with any one of the groups or subgroups you have set up, or mention any competitors that might be working against you on this particular opportunity, you can do that and then simply click OK. You'll also see there's an attachments tab. The attachments tab will allow you to include additional information about this opportunity. So if you have maybe the RFP or the RFQ that you want to attach, or maybe the customer has a list of other questions that need addressing, you can attach those to the opportunity and they'll be attached in the Documents tab in ACT. So we'll go ahead and hit OK, and that'll save the opportunity in ACT. And then the next, it'll prompt us to create this ACT call. So now we can set a reminder. So we say, okay, we're sending out the quote today. Maybe we want to call the customer on maybe Friday. So we'll call them on Friday, and we'll call them earlier in the morning. We'll say 10:30. Probably just be a 10-minute call, and we're going to schedule it for primary contact. Follow up about the quote sent on Tuesday. So this way we know what our call's about, and then we'll set a reminder to go off 5 minutes before our call so we make sure we do call them, and then we can click OK. And that'll schedule the follow-up call for you. We could also schedule a meeting. So if you need us to schedule a meeting, maybe you're going to do a full presentation after you sending out the quote, you can schedule the meeting from QuoteWerks as well. And then you also have the option to schedule to do. Maybe there's something outside of this that you need to make sure you follow up with, or that you need to make sure is taken care of before you meet with them for your meeting. You can do that from QuoteWerks also. So there's a lot of integration points with ACT. So we've done all that. Everything's gone over to ACT. So now that we've saved all that information into ACT, typically you would deliver your document, but let's go ahead and go open ACT, and let's go to our contact here. So if we go to our contact and we click on our opportunities tab, and let's look at all our open opportunities. So there's our opportunity that we just created today, and let's go ahead and double click on that. So this will display our opportunity in ACT of the one we just created. If we click on the products and services, you'll see our line item information has come over from QuoteWerks. If we click on the activities, you'll see we have a call scheduled. I had canceled out of the meetings and to-dos just because I didn't need to do that yet. So we have our call scheduled here. On the history tab, you'll see we've obviously created the opportunity information. And then on the documents tab, you have a copy of the QuoteWerks quote. Now, a couple other things are going to happen. When we send this document to the customer, we'll actually store a PDF version of the document under the Documents tab. So once we email the quote, we'll not only send it to the customer, but we'll actually attach the PDF version of the document to the Documents tab here in ACT. We'll also log in the history that we have emailed the customer, and you'll be able to see that email information directly in ACT as well. So if we go back into QuoteWerks, click on Deliver, we're ready to send this document to the customer. Select our layout. If you have a cover page you'd like to use, we can select our cover page. If you you have any additional layouts you want to use, and then if you have any literature documentation that you'd like to include. So if you have terms and conditions, warranty contracts, maybe just a support agreement, maybe just some more information about your company, maybe it's a new customer, you can attach all that documentation here from the literature tab in QuoteWerks, and then you can choose the order that we're going to merge this in, because we're going to actually send this as a single PDF to the customer. So even though this is multiple selections, let's go ahead and have our cover page print first. That looks good, and we'll go ahead and we'll preview this. So this will be the preview of the PDF version of the document the customer receives from us. We have our branded information here, so our logo with our company, who we're selling to, a little introduction about ourselves, and then we get into our line item information, and then a summary of what's being purchased, and then a breakdown of what's going to be recurring and what's going to be one time, and then our agreements. So everything looks good, so we're ready to send this to the customer. So we're going to go ahead and close out of here, and we'll choose Upload to Quote Valet. Now, Quote Valet is an add-on to QuoteWerks, but allows you to send your document to your customer via online form. So instead of the customer having to print out the PDF, they can actually sign off and pay for the document all online. So we'll just upload that to Quote Valet, and then typically you would preview it before you send it out to your customer. So we have our document here. Everything looks good. There's a copy of our PDF. Scroll down. We have our line item information, everything broken down. There's our optional item that that customer can select or deselect, and then they can accept it. And then if they accept it, then make payment. Everything will be good from there. So everything looks good. So let's go ahead and click Send Email. This will open up the Send Email window. The Send Email window will allow you to add in any text into the email, and also send or choose from an existing template. If you want to send this email to somebody else, you can add in multiple email addresses just by putting a comma in between the email addresses. And then when you're ready, simply click Send, and that'll send it out to the customer. And when you do send it out, you'll see we are going to log it under the history in ACT, under the sold to contact. So you'll have a copy of it available there. Now, once you've sent out the quote to the customer, if the customer requests any changes, maybe they tell you that in phase 1 they actually need 5 of these and 4 of these, and they're only going to need 1 of these, you can make those adjustments. And when you do that, you can actually save this as a revision. And when you save it as a revision, you have the option of deleting the previous revision. So if you just want to work on the latest version of the document, you can, or you can delete it. And when you have that revision, it creates a copy of your document for you. And you can see here we have a -01. And then if we resave our document, we can actually update the opportunity. And this is extremely helpful because this makes sure that your opportunity is always in sync with what's going on in QuoteWerks. So anytime you have a change to the document in QuoteWerks, simply click Save, and that will prompt you to update the opportunity and act with any changes. If you need to adjust your call, you can do that. I don't need to update my call, so I'm just going to hit cancel. We're going to keep that. Same thing with my meetings and my to-dos. Don't need to update any of those. Now my opportunity is in sync. So customer received our quote. They're ready to move forward. What we want to do is convert this quote to an order. And the reason we want to convert this quote to an order is that when we convert a quote to an order, this will allow us to update the opportunity as 1 in ACT. So we're going to choose File, Convert to Order. We'll receive a message saying, do you want to convert this quote to an order? We do. Let's say yes. And after you convert it to an order, QuoteWerks will automatically open up the Close ACT opportunity as 1. So this will actually tell us, hey, you marked this document as 1 in QuoteWerks. Do you want to update it as 1 in ACT? So we do. We can set the close date, but it'll automatically be set to today. We could add a new note if we'd like, or a competitor information, and then we can click OK. And then if we go back into ACT, and we refresh our opportunity here, you'll see that our opportunity has now been set to 1. So we've actually changed that status to 1 in ACT. And up at the top, you'll see it's been set as closed 1. You'll also see there's an option in ACT for closed loss. We can support that in QuoteWerks as well. So if we had not won this opportunity, if we had lost it, under the File menu, there is an option to convert the quote to a lost sale instead. It's grayed out because we've already converted it to 1, but it is available for you. So that's the trigger to automatically update the information in ACT. And that's it. It's easy as that to start using the ACT integration. So to recap, with the QuoteWerks and ACT integration, you'll be able to search and select contacts to pull into the document. We will create and update the opportunities, as well as we can schedule follow-up calls, meetings, and to-dos for you, as well as update those as needed. Additionally, any line item information that's in your document can be written into the ACT opportunity. For more information on the ACT integration, please see the QuoteWerks help file or contact our sales team. Thanks for watching.